Special interest groups have invested a lot of effort claiming that ranchers refuse to let their sheep herders have visitors. And it is true that many ranchers are refusing to let some special interest groups onto private property due to the disingenuous nature of their visits. Are ranchers concerned about shepherds having visitors? You bet they are. And the concern stems from a desire to protect their herders, not out of a sense of callousness or control as special interest groups lead people to believe. Sheep herding is similar to most other jobs when it comes to visitors. Most jobs do not allow employees to visit with anyone they want whenever they want. Nearly all employers have policies restricting contact and visitation with employees.
The very first shepherd I stopped to see worked for a ranch north of here. I didn't know there were other shepherds. Then one day I met his boss as well. I met some other shepherds, met his boss, and I said, "Is it okay with you if I visit your shepherds?" And very sternly, he gave me some rules. One of them was, don't take them anywhere. Secondly, I don't want you just sitting in their camp, because these are gracious men. They will visit with you for a long time while their work doesn't get done. I've worked in the construction trades, and never once did people just come in and sit down and visit with us. They knew we were at work. A shepherd's life does let him visit at noon, generally, and in the evening, certainly. The seasons are going to vary about how much time he has, but he is at work. I've tried to abide by those rules that I was given by that rancher. But I have to say, I was afraid of the ranchers. I did not come into this because ranchers had invited me. I came into it because I saw a need of lonely shepherds that I wanted to share the Bible with. So I did tend to avoid the ranchers in general. And I could get information about where other shepherds were from a shepherd. And after a while, I could build a system of where guys were at different times of the year, and that's what I did. But I began to get to meet the ranchers, and I came up and introduced myself, and I have to say, they were gracious.
Si estás acá, ahora donde que estoy borregueando en zonas privadas, no hay mucho, pero en la sierra te consigues con turistas casi a diario.
Ranchers have several reasons to be concerned about visitors at their sheep camps. Years of experience has shown that oftentimes a visitor will bring alcohol to a camp or try to steal a lamb. Visitors have also taken herders in for a night on the town. The sheep are left unguarded for the night, and the herder may or may not show back up at camp in the morning or for several days. There are serious consequences when a herder abandons his flock of sheep, as predators will attack at any time. Unguarded bands of sheep typically incur a significant death loss to predators. Trips into town with visitors have often resulted in the herder quickly spending his month's wages, resulting in no money saved to send home to families and requests to employers for loans since the herder has squandered his earnings.
I allow visitors, but anyone that visits knows that they're not allowed to bring alcohol. If they bring alcohol, they are not allowed. That's the bottom line, and I'm not changing that for anybody.
We allow some. I mean, you worry because you just don't know sometimes, intentions that from people who are stopping at the camp, because, ultimately they could be, who knows what they're telling the herder, offering the herder to pick up a lamb or more than one lamb. And so, I mean, yeah, you do get concerned about what's happening. And, well, not only that, you worry about, your sheep being left alone when they need somebody to be there. So I guess, yeah, it is a big concern. When the herder's not there, predation happens. So not that, it doesn't when he's there, but it happens a whole lot easier if he's not. And or, if he's not there, you don't know if, something happens to him, whether he's going to show up there. So, and when that happens, your sheep get scattered all over the place, and it's quite a job when you don't have a herder there watching your sheep to keep them together. So, yeah, we do worry about that.
Certain individuals also go to camps seeking out herders and encouraging the herders to abandon their sheep herding jobs in favor of taking illegal jobs in town. One rancher related an incident about strangers visiting one of his herders. Quite suddenly, the herder began asking the rancher to bring him cash every week. Since the camp was in a remote area far from town, the rancher thought the request was rather odd, but honored the herder's request. At the end of the month, the herder had spent quite a bit of his earnings and didn't have very much money to send home to his family. The rancher finally asked the herder what he did with his money. The herder said that church people had been making trips to the camp to visit him. The visitor kept explaining that their church needed money, and if the herder couldn't make donations to the church, they would no longer be able to visit with him. So instead of having money to send to his family, the vulnerable and unsuspecting herder gave away his money to camp visitors seeking donations.
There's often people that come by our herds. If we're at a popular trail or a road, people will stop in and talk to our herders, and that's fine. We're always concerned, though, that people are taking advantage of our herders or taking advantage of their naivety towards with our society. And just this last summer, one of our herders had some checks that he received from us for pay, and somebody had offered to cash them for him. And they said, just sign your name and send them down with me, and then tomorrow I'll come back with the cash. And our herder just about did that, not thinking that people would perhaps never come back with their cash. And so and one herder this past year, we opened a bank account for him, and then also had a phone service with this bank account. And somehow, within like 3 weeks, this herder had 4 accounts, and his main account had somebody else's name on it too. And somehow everything got completely turned upside down, just because they're not as familiar with our banking system and how convenient it is to be able to do some phone banking, but they don't understand all the consequences of conversing with a bank teller on the phone.
Ranch employers have very legitimate concerns about random visitors to their sheep camps, especially in the light of recent efforts by special interest groups to use herders as a poster child for a campaign of false accusation against employers.
We allow visitors. We like to keep it within reason. There are incidents when visitors have come and kind of ripped the guy off. They're very trusting people. We've made them aware of that. Sheep herders come by all the time. We're within a vicinity of a lot of other sheep camps and herders. They visit quite often. Some people that come in from town, and we establish some kind of relationship, I'd say. But no, there are certain people we don't care for them to be around, and after a short amount of time, they realize that they're not ideal either. But that doesn't happen very often, and we don't police these people. We're not there 24/7. We do come, and they know usually when we'll be there. So we don't really tell them they can't have visitors. They kind of figure that out. One of our herders does not want anybody at his camp. I mean, he's got his system. Somebody comes, it messes up his system. So he just doesn't even want anybody there. So.
And with that, that's their call. I mean, it's their camps. I mean, they can do what they want as far as on their time. And but yes, we have made them very aware of people coming, and certain people, advocacy groups and stuff that have an agenda that you have to watch for those kinds of people and make sure that that they're the kind of people they want in their own camp. And so I think it's important to address those situations and make them aware of those kinds of people that might be coming to their camps and might be trying to to do something that would jeopardize their job.
And along with that, now that with most of our men have cell phones, they do a lot of visiting with their families in Peru and with other sheep herders that have cell phones. They have DVD players in their camps, and they watch those. We've been to camp early in the morning, and they have music playing and pictures of their family. And so with that, I think that has probably taken the place of having a lot of visitors in their camp also.
Special interest groups are known for bringing food, clothing, and blankets to shepherds in order to get their shepherds to answer questions for them. First off, the gifts are actually bribes to get the shepherds to participate in the outreach interviews and answer survey questions. Some herders know this and do their own little bit of manipulating by playing up to interviewers to get more gifts. The special interest groups use their gift-giving mission as a chance to imply that the gifts are needed because ranchers are not supplying necessities for their herders. In a final, calculated act of exploitation, special interest groups package up their stories they get in exchange for gifts and pass the stories off to the public as legitimate objective data.
I would say that there's an awful lot of naive assessments going on. Surveys, like statistics, are easily manipulated. Every worker, even in America, is going to have things he would like to change about his job. But in the last 11 years, I'd have to say the men that I have met, and I've met over 100, and worked with a majority of those, are very appreciative of the conditions, are content to be here. And when I have talked to them about some of the recent accusations, I've seen anger on their part. One of the gentlemen I visited with, I told him that it was said that the ranchers claimed they could go fishing, but that the other side was saying, well, they only have fishing poles. And the shepherd got angry. He jumped up, went over to a drawer, pulled it open, and handed me the can. And I said, no, it's okay, I understand. But somebody doing a survey is not going to know that in that can is a line and the hooks and everything he needs for fishing. And it will be easily carried on his horse or on foot through heavy brush, as a fishing pole wouldn't be.
You know, they're humble people, but they're very trusting people, the Peruvian people that we've come to know. And, you know, with that, you know, they don't, it's hard for them to tell a person that has an agenda to we're just a friendly tourist, you know. And, you know, in our areas where we have had more public coming in and more touristy people or hunters or whatever, you know, they have come, you know, they interact with a lot of people.
When we've had others that take advantage of them, a lot of our herders pick up drop horns, and we've had people come to their camp and they don't know that, well, they learn. We'd have them give them like 5 cents on the dollar. Yeah, the shed antlers, and they pay them, but they don't pay them enough, and they've learned that trade also. So yeah, you have a lot of abuse. The longer they're here, the more they realize what's going on.
Ranchers are truly not concerned with well-intentioned people that simply want to visit with the shepherds, and visitors are welcome if they are not interfering with routine job responsibilities or attempting to exploit their shepherds.
I have never told my men that they can't have visitors. I have a concern about visitors because sometimes there's a lot of people that visit and have ulterior motives. They may bring whiskey or they may bring money and they end up taking a lamb home. Other than that, I have no problems with visitors, and I've never told my men they can't have visitors. I would like to know if somebody visited more than, you know, or they're going to visit, not so much whether they're going to visit or not, but just for safety's sake for the man himself and for our livestock, because there are those that have ulterior motives.
Depende de la zona a veces que estamos, ¿no? O sea, a veces sí, a veces no, a veces sitios turísticos estamos, todos los días la gente, a veces también a uno no se siente bien porque molestan los animales, no puedes tener ese lugar, un poco también incomoda a uno, pero es la naturaleza, ¿no? A veces estamos lejos de sitio, estamos así, ¿no?
En eso, acá cuando uno va a la montaña, por decir, Hay meses que hay poca gente que viene, pero turistas siempre vemos, pero a veces no tenemos esa oportunidad de conversar con algunos, sí, pero en los meses de agosto, septiembre, ya en la época de acá en este estado, siempre la campaña de cacería, entonces hay mucha gente que viene, que anda, pero sí,